Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet the star stitch. Look how pretty that is. So the star stitch is multiples of 2. So we are going to make our foundation chain multiples of 2. I'm going to make a sample piece here. Start with a slip knot. I am using a K hook with a slightly chunky yarn. This would be like a size 5. I want it to be nice and bulky so you can see everything that I'm doing really well. So like I said, we need a multiple of 2 for our foundation chain. So I'm going to go ahead and do 20 for our demonstration. $19, $20. Okay, so to get started on this foundation chain, we are going to insert our hook in this second chain from the hook. So ignore this one, ignore the one on the hook, and then ignore this foundation chain right next to it. And we're going to insert our hook into that foundation chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, now go into the next chain, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 3 loops on our hook, and we're going to go do a total of 5. When I'm inserting underneath 2 strands from that foundation. Okay, 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, draw through all those loops, all of them. All right, now can you see it forming? So a note on this, if you are making something that's a certain size, remember that that foundation chain is going to come up and kind of create the, what would be the quote-unquote turning chain. So it kind of shortens whatever sizing that is. Okay, so just be aware of that. All right, so now what we're going to do is chain 1. There's our star, and this is the eye of the star, which we'll talk about again in a second. Okay, so place your hook inside the star now that we've gotten started. Pull up a loop. Okay, now we're going to insert our hook in the foundation chain where we drew up a loop already, this last one from the star stitch. So put your hook in there and pull up a loop. Now a little note, when you're pulling up these loops, you know, let them come all the way up, okay? Don't leave those too tight. All right, and then in the next 2 foundation chains. Draw up our loop to get those 5 that we need on our hook. There we go, there's our 5. Yarn over, pull through all those loops, and let your yarn come through. Okay, don't make that super tight. Okay, let your yarn come all the way through because we don't want these super tight little tiny stars. Okay, chain 1. Not so bad, right? All right, again, inserting our hook into the eye of that star, pull up a loop, inserting it into that foundation chain with the last stitch from the star for loop number 3. And then in the next 2 of those foundation chains. And let your hook pull your yarn in. We don't want these tiny little loops. Kind of shake it out a little bit and make sure there's enough wiggle room in there for you to yarn over and get through all those loops. All right, do the same thing down to the end, and I'll meet you there. All right, here's how it's looking. I've got my 5 loops on for this last star stitch, and if you've got one guy left on your foundation chain, you did it right. So don't panic if you have one left, you did it right, okay? So we're gonna pull through all of those for that last star stitch. We're going to chain 1, and then what we're gonna do is in this last foundation chain, we're gonna do a half double crochet. All right, and that's yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. You've got 3 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through all 3. There we go. Not too bad, right? Okay, so now for row number 2, so we had our foundation chain, then we had row number 1. Now we have row number 2, which is chain 2, turn our work, and now we're going to do some more of those half double crochets. And all of those half double crochets are going to be happening in the eye of that star stitch. Okay, so if you have trouble and you can't identify it from the back, look at the front, see where that eye is, that circle, a little circle, and we're going to place 2 half double crochets in there. Okay, so here's the eye here. So yarn over, insert it into the eye. There's half double crochet number 1, yarn over, half double crochet number 2. All right, now in the next one, yarn over, 2 half double crochets in each one of the eye of those stars. All right, and if you look at the front, the back of those half double crochets are what are sort of finishing out and creating the top part of that star shape. Okay, so that's why we need to have those there. So if you remember that the half double crochet needs to finish up that star, that'll help you remember that it needs to go in that eye. And again, we're still pulling through 3 loops, so let that yarn pull all the way through, okay? We shouldn't be having a hard time pulling through those loops. We don't want tiny little loops. Let the hook do the work for you. Try not to tighten things down really firmly after each one and create these tiny stitches. We want it to be gliding through. All right, so we've got 2 left here. Okay, so that is finishing up row 3. All right, we did our 2 in the eye of the first star stitch that we did, and then we need to do another half double crochet in the top of what is kind of that turning chain or that foundation chain that came up along the side here. We need to have a half double crochet in the top of that. Okay, now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn our work, and in this chain here we are going to put our hook in, so there's 3 chains. I'm actually going to turn my work and then do my chain 3 just so you can see those chains a little bit better from the front. Okay, so the front, we're going to be putting our hook in the 2nd chain and then the 3rd chain. Okay, so we're going to insert our hook, grab yarn over, pull through a loop. Okay, Then we're going to go in that first chain, yarn over, pull a loop. We've got 3. We need 2 more, so we're going to insert our hook in that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. We've got 5 loops. You know what's going to happen next. Yarn over, pull through all those loops. Chain 1. And then we repeat like we did before. Into the eye of the star stitch, pull through, into the previous stitch that we pulled up, the last stitch from that star here, for loop 3, into the next stitch, and then the next stitch. We've got 5 loops, yarn over, all 5 of those loops. So we're going to continue that same thing all the way down. Take a look at how beautiful that's looking. So do the same steps all the way to the end, and then I'll show you how to turn and then do your next row of half double crochets. All right, we're beginning our last stitch. Pull through. Okay, remember 1, 2, and then you gotta have 1 extra, right? So make sure we've got that last stitch available for us. Pull through all those loops, chain 1, and then we will place our half double crochet in that last stitch. Now we repeat row 2. So row 1 was along that foundation chain, then we have row 2, row 3, so now we're going to repeat row 2, which is chain 2, turn our work, and place 2 half double crochets in each one of those eyes of the star to finish out that star shape. There's the first 2. When we get to the end, make sure that you place your 2 and then your additional half double crochet in that turning chain at the end of your row. Then you will chain 3 and repeat this star row that we completed, right? So that would be row 3. So we repeat rows 2 and row 3 to finish out your piece. So you can use this stitch for washcloths, cowls, scarves, all kinds of things. And when you're done though, you want to make sure you finish on one of those half double crochet rows. Okay, because we want to make sure we finish out this beautiful star. All right, there is the crochet star stitch.